Keeping entertainment fair. It's The Ref. Carmine Conti here on the Heads Up Radio Network.
And good afternoon. Welcome to a beautiful Wednesday afternoon here in the Lake City. The Lake City being Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I am Carmine Conti. I am The Ref, and welcome. Today, oh boy, we have a slam-packed show today for you, but the feature then, the hot topic today, of course, and this week, for the remainder of the week, starting tomorrow, will be the Masters. So that will be one of the hot topics, probably my primary focus for the day. And once again, as I usually do on Wednesdays at the beginning of the show, I kind of give the outline of the show for you, and then what we do is we try to follow that. At least my producer wants me to do that, but I don't. And he doesn't like me for it. But let me go over the format of the show. We do every week, and we try to stay consistent with that. We try to put together a show that involves the entertainment world. So being the Ref, I'm not just limited to what most would think are sports topics, though we do talk about sports topics. They are entertainers, and so we look at them in the entertainment world. But I also talk about actors, musicians, and anything that might be entertaining. So I was just reading about something that might be very entertaining here. I'll pass that on a little bit to you. So we pick out the topics, or what we call are the hot topics of the day, things that we're going to discuss today. And then we kind of open up the phone lines, and the phone lines are text lines, and we invite people to call in. And the way to do that, first of all, is let's go down the list of how you listen or call in and get involved in the Heads Up Radio Network show, The Ref. And the first way, of course, if you're listening to this, you probably have already done that. If not, pass this on to your friends. We always want new blood. And that's going to the www.headsupradio, all one word, .com. That'll take you to our website. There'll be a little button there you click on that you can download this to your iPhone, Android, tablet, iPad, and of course your PC, whether it be laptop or desktop. And then, of course, you'll want to go ahead and do whatever you have to do to configure that, so that way it'll always be there. Bookmark it or do something that you'll be prepared for every Wednesday to tune in to headsupradio.com and listen to me, the Ref, or to Mary Souza, who's one of our other hosts of the show, the No Nonsense radio show. And then, of course, Mike Loy, who comes on at 6 this evening. It will do the gun guy, we call him. Mike carries a lot of guns around, so he's the gun guy. So that's how one way of listening to us or getting involved is, first of all, find the website. First of all, get clicked into it, and first of all, get on the show so you can listen to the nonsense I'm going to bring you for the next hour. Second of all, then, of course, you can, if you have any highlights or things that you want to go over that you don't necessarily want on air by calling in, you can send those to me per text and or per email. And first of all, the best way to do that is carmine@headsupradio.com, and that will get you an email right to me directly at my mailbox. And if there's anything that you wanted to discuss more or less privately or didn't want on the air, as I said earlier, then that would be the way to do that. Now, you can also get a hold of me per text while I'm on air. And for those of you that didn't want to, once again, have your voice on air, and that's 208-643-3817. And that's 208-643-3817. That's on Pinger. If you don't have that application, I highly suggest it. It's free, and we all like that price. And so go ahead and grab that if you can, or text it to me directly at 208, as I said, 643-3817. And then last but not least, if you do want to call in, which we welcome. And that will be the second part of the show. The first part of the show here, as we were talking about earlier as well, is that I'm going to go over some of the topics we're going to talk about today, some of the information, the format of the show, and so you can kind of flow along with the show. What we usually do is if you have a hot topic or if I haven't covered anything that you don't think's hot and you have something that's hotter, man, bring it on. I mean, I'm always looking for something that's hotter. Just don't tell my wife that, okay? Anyway, to do that, you're going to call into the show, and that's a 208, once again, 208 area code. And that's 758-0546. That's 208-758-0546. Now, I've given you a lot of numbers, I've given you a lot of information there, and we'll run over that by the end of the show, especially if you're wanting to text in or email in. And that way you'll have that. So once you get all hooked up to the Heads Up Radio Network and what we're doing here, it'll all start to be very familiar to you, as even for me, I'm still having to memorize these numbers as well. So today, as I said when we started, the primary focus of the hot topic today was the Masters, which starts tomorrow. Also going to talk a little bit about, I don't know if you watched the ACM Awards, the Country Music Awards, the Academy of Country Music Awards this past, I think it was 2 nights ago, Monday night or whatever, Tuesday night, and watched some of that. Very interesting. Congratulations. I'll put out an order to Mr. George Strait, who won Entertainer of the Year. Quite a surprise. Maybe not for, I would say some of us who have been around the country music lines for a long time. George, of course, I've heard reference to the last country singer alive, or the last of the country singers, however you want to put it. That's a topic for another day that I probably could indulge myself into, and how country music has changed, but I'm going to leave that alone unless that's a topic that you want to pursue today. Other than that, congratulations to Mr. Strait there for keeping it straight and keeping it country. And good luck next year, George. I don't know that you're going to win back-to-back, but more power to you this year. Absorb it. Enjoy it. Also, as I had requested a few times here, is that I did want some feedback, and I'd love to get you guys involved more so, whether it be for advertising, promoting, or something involved with the radio show here at Heads Up Radio Network. And so I'm gonna drop some plugs every while for some of my faithful listeners out there. I won't call them fans yet because they don't blow anywhere, but they are fans. And see if I can get you guys involved. And today's first segment, just as a plug for one of my friends out there, is the Von Dago. So Von Dago, if you're out there listening, here's plugging you, man, the best pinstriper in the Inland Empire, if not the United States. How's that, Von Dago? I mean, that's a good plug for you. Any information you need about Von Dago, listen, I've seen his work. I've seen some of the stuff he does, whether it's on guitars, helmets, cars, you name it. Incredible stuff. So get something that Dago did, or as his T-shirts say, Dago did it. And he is Italian too, so I guess that works well for you, Mr. Dago. So there's our first plug here for one of our, we know he's going to be a future sponsor, so I hope you're listening, Dago, and you're going to put up some money here and be a sponsor here with Heads Up Radio. And tell your friends as well, too, and your customers, take a listen to this and give a shout back in the entertainment world. We're also going to do a little calendar of events as well, and pretty much to promote mostly some of the local stuff. I'll keep it brief, keep it short, and if there's anything coming into town, as I talked about last week, we had the Blues Festival here in town, and all reports back from that have all been positive, and people are still lamenting about what we'll have next year. How can they top it? And I don't know. It just keeps growing the way it is. We're going to have quite a festival here. Matter of fact, here at Heads Up Radio, some of the people involved in producing and putting this all together we're talking about having a festival here in the upcoming future, or for future we're looking at. We'd like to be able to put on another festival. Years ago we had a jazz festival here, and we'd like to revisit that if possible. That way, keeping the culture growing here in the Lake City. And we have the venue pretty much picked out, and I'm going to keep that all but private until we get an announcement that we can for sure put something together like that. But it's in the works, so stand by. I mean, we got a new radio station here, and we want to have a festival. We want to promote the arts and sports entertainment as well. So, I don't know, maybe we'll have a softball team or something like that. Trip's been dying to hit a baseball or a softball. So there you go. There's the format. And then, of course, after we pick the hot topic for the day, if I don't get a call in on something better than mine, we're going to go to the Masters and talk a little bit about the Masters today. Do a little updating on what's going around in the world of entertainment, and then we'll get to time for the call-in time. And usually that's the second part of the show, which is usually, I always try to gauge it about half past the hour. And so from about 3:30 on, we're going to take call-ins, and if not, then you'll just let me ramble for another half hour. But I'd like to see some calls today. I'd like to see some text. I gave you the info and everything like that. Since you got all that information, I'm going to let you digest that all. And then while you digest that, we're going to take a short break here and get out and sell some chicken or some pizza or a Reuben sandwich. Anyway, you're listening to the Heads Up Radio Network.
Sorry, Jen, I can't make it to our coffee date today. My kids are sick again, and I have a terrible headache, and medicine just doesn't seem to help.
Seems like you guys are always sick. Have you had your house tested for mold?
Come on, Jen, you know me. I keep my house spotless. There's no mold here.
That's what I thought about our house. We had the same problems last year and called mountain mold testing. They came right out and inspected our whole house for mold.
Really? What happened?
Well, mountain mold testing took air samples, and the lab test showed that we were breathing dangerous, invisible mold. We got the mold cleaned up, and now we don't have any more wheezing, headaches, or congestion. They gave us our health back.
Mold can cause numerous health problems, including allergies, chronic headaches, asthma, and lung infections. Children, pregnant women, and the elderly are especially susceptible. Call Mountain Mold Testing at 208-660-8877. That's 208-660-8877. Online at mountainmoldtesting.com.
Looking for something different to do tonight? Thinking of a restaurant that you haven't been to for a while, or a place to take the kids out for a fun night? Ever find yourself in this situation? This is a question that prompted publisher Jeanette Dunn to create Idaho Cuisine and Spokane Sizzle dining and entertainment guides. And it just keeps getting better with their pocket guides, online editions, and now online local restaurant finder at sizzlingcuisine.com. Also find local wineries, breweries, distilleries, great recipes from local chefs, hot spots and cool happenings, and chances to vote for your favorites. Be in the know about local happenings when you sign up for the Sizzlin' Cuisine e-News, delivered to your desktop weekly, and be eligible to win a free dinner for two. You've always enjoyed reading the magazines. Now it's easy to flip through them online too. Makes it easy to find restaurants that offer great menus prepared by experienced staff who really care to serve you the best in local cuisine. Spokane Sizzle and Idaho Cuisine are online at sizzleincuisine.com. We do the footwork to make it easy for you to find just what you're looking for. Carmine Conti, the ref, here on the Heads Up Radio Network.
And welcome back here to Heads Up Radio. I'm Carmine Conti, the ref, as it was just stated. And a good day to you. And so we didn't get any phone calls, no text, no anything to disturb the hot topic of the day. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of jump on into it. I did mention a little bit about the Country Music Awards that were on the other night, and congratulating Mr. Straight. And I got to tell you, just a little bit more on that. Country music is taken quite the turn from from what I remember as being, boy, I thought guys like Dwight Yoakam were guys that were pushing the edge of country music. Matter of fact, they pretty much ousted him out of Nashville because they thought he was too, let's say, non-traditional. And they thought, no, Dwight, you're just a little bit too fancy for what we're looking for. But boy, oh boy, I bet you they're rolling in their graves here. Some of the Opry House founders are probably thinking, boy, this ain't no Minnie Pearl. So it's quite different. I'm just amazed. And truly, honestly, I mean, I'm not taking away from any of the musicianship or some of the singers and the way that the tunes are presented. But I got to tell you, country people are getting awfully pretty. I mean, I've never seen so many guys with straight white teeth on one show. I mean, it's amazing. Luke Bryan, I mean, who does your teeth, man? That's incredible. But I guess that's it. That's kind of the way of the world or the way of country music right now. I always kind of figured the guy would come out there with a chaw in his mouth or a piece of straw, but not Luke. It's a pretty good-looking young man there. And quite the singer. As I said, I don't want to take anything away from the country music guys, but there's a bunch of pretty people in country music right now. I'll leave it at that. If you have something more to say about that, you know the digits, you know how to get a hold of me now. So go ahead and pick on me about making fun of country people, which I wasn't, but they're still pretty. Moving on to the hot topic of the day. I couldn't find really a lot of things that I wanted to digest or digress or what any of those words in regards to the Masters. But I'm going to comment pretty much on the Masters itself. I mean, this is something that was founded more or less by Bobby Jones. And if you're familiar with golf and you know who Bobby Jones is and know that he was never a professional, he was always remained an amateur golfer. And then, of course, I mean, he had a law degree and, he did a lot of things after he retired from golf. But tried to create a place on U.S. soil that would be like the hallowed grounds of St. Andrews, sort of the home of the British Open. And he found this place, of course, not having the course built on a seaside, whether it be on the west or east coast, it was never going to look like St. Andrews. It was going to have its own characteristics. And, of course, in the lush part of this country, I mean, if you've ever been to Georgia, it is lush and green and muggy and hot and a lot of other things, too, in the summer. But what a perfect time of the year to play golf, April in Georgia. Be a great name for a song. And so they built this golf course. I think it opened in 1933, and it has become the Masters, of course. And I believe it was called something else when it first started, but it is now the Masters, and it is everybody's dream to win this golf tournament because of the prestige of Augusta National, the golf course, the members, and I mean, such dignitaries that are members at this course. And the way that they keep the tradition of the game. And what I've noticed here in the last few years is that the game itself is changing and has changed since, I'll say it straight out, since Eldrick Tiger Woods came into being, is changed what the golf game is. The one nice thing about it is that this golf course was never going to change or try to change itself to fit to the players. And because then the course then starts to become something of a spectacle that is controlled by the players of the game, and so it changes the game. And as I've always said in regards to Woods, himself is that he's not bigger than the game. I mean, he's the biggest thing in the game, but he's not bigger than the game. And when Tiger retires and leaves, the game will still carry on, and we'll still have Augusta, and he'll be like Arnold and Jack, out there at 50 years old hitting the opening drive on the first hole. But that won't be something that he would be participating in. And how much will Augusta change in the next 20 years, by the time Tiger's pretty much out of it? Not much. And it hasn't since 33, since the conception of it, except the golf course has matured. And I'm sure it will mature a little bit more. The big thing this year is there was a tree, a famous tree on number 17 called the Eisenhower tree, and named after the President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, who I guess the reason they named the tree after him is he usually found it quite a bit on number 17. But now the tree is missing through an act of God. And they're talking now, the big thing about it now is whether they're going to replace this huge tree that was there since Eisenhower was in office. So that's the big topic about the golfers. And when you remove things from a golf course and you add things to a golf course, it obviously changes the hole or changes the way the golf course is or is played, more or less. If you take some of the famous golf courses in the United States right now, the two that come to mind, of course, right off the top are Pebble Beach and then, of course, Augusta. But we recently just saw Doral used to be famous for, they had a hole called the Blue Monster. And since the Trump society or organization or whatever you want to call Donald's empire has taken over the golf course, they have reworked the golf course some. And the golf course has changed in what and how it's played or what the makeup of the course is, either adding more traps or maybe more water or lengthening the holes, putting more undulation into the greens. If you are familiar with all those terms and how that's done, then you know what I'm talking about. But more so, they've kept the characteristic of the green monster, or the blue monster, and that is what everybody used to refer to when they played Doral. Well, the same thing is true. If they make changes to Pebble Beach, it will then change that golf course. And that is the same thing holds true with Augusta, is they don't like change in Augusta. They don't like it. They try to keep everything very traditional. And yet they are adding things. Now, I can remember growing up watching the tournament back when Nicklaus and Palmer were the rage, and I can never ever remember the par 3 tournament. Well, now this par 3 tournament, which was played today, by the way, has the golfers bring their families out. I mean, they have their little kids as caddies dressed up in the little white jumpsuits, and it's amazing to me how this is now becoming a family-orientated tournament. So the hallowed grounds now are sort of like, are becoming Disneyland. Augusta, to me, is starting to become and look like the face of Disneyland. It's like we're getting kids involved in it. I mean, here as of 5-6 years ago, they couldn't even get a woman member, but now all of a sudden we got Mickey Mouse. And I don't know whether I like the idea of it. The commercialization of it, to me, starts to take away from some of the tournament. But then again, starting this last weekend, of course, kids around America were able to qualify for what they call as a drive, chip, and putt. And they bring in 88 kids in age groups from 9 to 11 to 13 to 15. And these kids, 11 in each group or whatever, and these kids compete by who has the longest drive, who has the best chip, and who has the best putts. And they accumulate a score, and they become the drive, chip, and putt champion, and then on Augusta. And then I think that actually the winners get to play a round of golf or whatever the case may be. But it's a time where they're involving kids into it, and I guess that helps the future of golf, and who knows when we're going to find the next Tiger Woods, or we're going to find one of the next Rory McIlroys. So it's something that is always constantly looking to build the game of golf. At Augusta, I just don't know. It's sort of making Augusta and taking away from the tradition and making it more of a Disneyland to me. And other than that, I don't really know how to present the tournament itself and what the PGA, the USGA, and of course what strength Augusta then has in regards to what happens on the golf course during the tournament. There have been situations. There was a situation regarding Tiger Woods last year, and in a ruling, and also it's like the golf course. People got involved, and the USGA and PGA, and what a mess. And it ended up that Tiger was penalized for this, but not until the end of his round. I got to say, listen, golf is a gentleman's sport. One of the reasons that we try to bring kids into this sport, more so than any other sport that's out there, is because if you break a rule or you have a rule infraction, and trust me, I would say your average golfer probably in a round of golf probably has at least 2 or 3 or 4 infractions in any round they play. It's something that it happens obviously more to others who don't understand the rules, and less, of course, to people who try to play by the rules. But the idea of the game is it's a gentleman's game, and it is a game that you are required to, if you commit a rule infraction or a foul, or however you want to call it, is that you call it on yourself. Now, there's been a couple movies made here in the last several years that imply just that exactly, whether it be Bobby Jones or Beggar Vance or some of these movies that were made, is that these are infractions that were made and the player itself called the infraction on themselves. Very, very unusual in the world of sports. I doubt if you watched any of the national championship basketball game on Monday night, that you'd see any of those guys calling fouls. Matter of fact, some of the biggest, I guess, confrontations, fights, or whatever you want to call them, that I've ever seen are in pickup games where it's you have to call your own foul. Guys just don't like it. And it takes away from, to me, the integrity of the game. If you can't admit it that you have fouled or you have made an infraction, and that exists in basketball as well as baseball and football as well, is that you don't try to cheat your way to victory. And that's the one thing about golf that's made it always such a great sport to watch, because guys, for the most part, that play this game, the integrity level is so high. And, of course, now with these cameras that are everywhere, is that you can see everything. The difference is that they can assess strokes or penalties against you. In the Tiger Woods incident, for example, is that at the end of the round, where in a football game or a basketball game, it has to be immediately done. So if the guy doesn't, I don't think I've ever seen anybody admit it, but I have seen a few ball players foul somebody and raise their hand knowing they did it, or intentionally, what they call intentional fouls or things like that. But for the most part, guys will play through that. If they feel like they can get away with it, it's part of the game. In football, if you feel like you can hold somebody and not get caught, that's part of the game. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd to me that, and this is where I'm going to focus on. I'm going to leave this at absurd. We're going to take a station break here. When we come back, I'm going to go into the absurd part, and that's the part of the Masters that I want to talk about, or golf or sports in general. We're going to talk about the absurdity of rules. You're listening to the Heads Up Radio Network. I'm Carmine the Ref. We'll be back in a few minutes.
sick again, and I have a terrible headache, and medicine just doesn't seem to help.
Seems like you guys are always sick. Have you had your house tested for mold?
Come on, Jen, you know me. I keep my house spotless. There's no mold here.
That's what I thought about our house. We had the same problems last year and called mountain mold testing. They came right out and inspected our whole house for mold.
Really? What happened?
Well, mountain mold testing took air samples and the lab test showed that we were breathing dangerous, invisible mold. We got the mold cleaned up and now we don't have any more wheezing, headaches, or congestion. They gave us our health back.
Mold can cause numerous health problems, including allergies, chronic headaches, asthma, and lung infections. Children, pregnant women, and the elderly are especially susceptible. Call Mountain Mold Testing at 208-660-8877. That's 208-660-8877. Online at mountainmoldtesting.com.
Looking for something different to do tonight? Thinking of a restaurant that you haven't been to for a while or a place to take the kids out for a fun night? Ever find yourself in this situation? This is a question that prompted publisher Jeanette Dunn to create Idaho Cuisine and Spokane Sizzle dining and entertainment guides. And it just keeps getting better with their pocket guides, online editions, and now online local restaurant finder at sizzlingcuisine.com. Also find local wineries, breweries, distilleries, great recipes from local chefs, hot spots and cool happenings, and chances to vote for your favorites. Be in the know about local happenings when you sign up for the Sizzling Cuisine e-News, delivered to your desktop weekly, and be eligible to win a free dinner for two. You've always enjoyed reading the magazines. Now it's easy to flip through them online too. Makes it easy to find restaurants that offer great menus prepared by experienced staff who really care to serve you the best in local cuisine. Spokane Sizzle and Idaho Cuisine are online at sizzleincuisine.com. We do the footwork to make it easy for you to find just what you're looking for. Support of Heads Up Radio's audio stream comes from people like you. Join the thousands that make independent radio stations like Heads Up Radio available to the public and your community. Please donate. You're listening to the Heads Up Radio Network. The Ref, Carmine Conti.
And welcome back to the Heads Up Radio Network. I am Carmine Conti, and I am the Ref. And today's hot topic today is we're talking about the Masters. But more importantly, we're kind of talking about rules. And this is the section of the show usually that we take in the phone calls or text or something like that to try to get you guys involved in it. And I can see here I got a clear slate, so I got to work harder at getting my peeps involved here with the show. And let me go into where I left off. And where I had left off in this topic was about the game of golf and the fact that it's not a game that it per se is officiated like any other sport that we have. That's what makes it obviously unique. But the thing that makes it very much unique is the fact that the game is more or less officiated by the integrity of the player. And this is what leads me into why this game to me has maintained a lot of the integrity, because I don't believe that we question the golfers as much as we might question other athletes in other sports. I would venture to say that what an interesting panel that would be, is to bring on a golfer, a football, baseball, soccer, whatever, even a boxer for that matter. I don't care. And ask them, honestly, is there a way that you've been able to cheat to be able to give yourself an advantage? Matter of fact, as a sports official, one of the things that people frequently have asked me is like, man, I don't know how you do that. I mean, how do you remember all those rules? And I mean, I officiated 3 separate sports, in football, basketball, and baseball for quite a few years. And it's like, learning to when turn off the football mentality and turn on the basketball mentality, and then consequently learning to turn that off and turn on the baseball mentality. Of course, there are rules aplenty for all three sports and for all sports for that matter. Matter of fact, you take a rules test as a PGA member, Professional Golfers of America, take a rules test that they have to pass to be able to play that. Not something done in very many other sports, if at all, is that I doubt if you even gave a rules test which officials take for football or basketball or baseball, any of the players would pass, let alone the coaches. Now, I'm not saying that no coaches would be able to pass that test. I'm just telling you, you would be surprised at the numbers that they would score on that test. And the reason is that they're taught to gain advantage and they're taught to take advantage. And if it's a violation of the rule and they get away with it, so be it. And now, I'm not saying that coaches go out there and say, teach the kids how to cheat, but they do teach the kids how to gain an advantage. The problem therein lies is if you gain that advantage illegally, of course, then, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, or any of these sports that I forecross mentioned, is that you have officials there to basically correct that or basically enforce the rules by penalizing the team or the individual who does that. Now, this doesn't stray across golf as well. From my understanding, and if you've ever been to a PGA event, you would know when you were there, there is a rules official called the referee who walks with every foursome or threesome or twosome, or however they're set up for that tournament, will walk with the scorer and monitors anything that happens in the group. But surprisingly, more so than ever, and you've probably watched this on TV, is that you'll see where they might call in a rules official who we wait 15 minutes for to show up in a golf cart to tell a player where he may or may not drop or what he can do. Matter of fact, somebody was asking me in regards to this and a provisional. Why does somebody hit a provisional ball? And so if you hit a ball on let's say a tightly lined fairway with trees or water or stuff like that, and or an OB out of bounds, and you see the ball bounce that way, and you don't see the ball anymore, it sort of disappears, as golf balls have a tendency to do. What we usually do, or I'm using me as a golfer as well, is that what I will do is I will pull a ball out of my bag, and I will show my playing partners what ball it is, or you're supposed to, and what you're playing and what you're hitting, and it's a provisional, what we call as a provisional. And what you do is you go ahead and hit that provisional, and then you go to where your ball, your first drive that you saw disappear, and if you find that ball, it's playable, it's in bounds, it's not in a hazard or something where you can play it out of, then you have to inform your playing partners at that time is that I found my original ball, I can play it, I'm picking up my provisional, and I will play my original ball with no cost of stroke to you. And it's something that, what it is, once again, it's you being honest about finding the ball, not the one that rolls down your pant leg conveniently to where you thought the ball went out of bounds and then you pick up your provisional. Been done, seen it done, and it starts to take away when you play in a group with guys who are trying to adhere to that. It then opens the door. It's like, well, if so-and-so is going to cheat, then maybe so-and-so might cheat and so-and-so might cheat. And now what you have is you have a loss of integrity. And this is what happens in other sports where officials aren't really able to catch every violation. If you figure there's 7 NFL officials on a field at one time and they're watching 22 ball players, very hard to do. I mean, so realistically, it's that every official has to watch 3 ball players, and by position, you can't do that. So it's something that is left to the ball player, and in this case, left to the golfer. Now, in regards to the Tiger Woods incident, is that Woods had incorrectly dropped the ball. Now, this is, as acclaimed, the greatest golfer of all time, and they don't usually make incorrect drops. I mean, I would hate to be considered to be the greatest golfer of all time and then not know how to correctly drop a ball in regards to an unplayable lie or in the situation that Tiger was in at that time. And not going into all that, but more or less sticking with the integrity of the game. I think what it's starting to bring into play, and I think what we're going to see, I believe this to be true, is because there's been other avenues brought up in regards to how long a player takes to hit a shot. This goes back to guys like Sergio Garcia, who, I don't know whatever that was called, his Spanish addressing of the ball, hat dance, whatever the case may be. But it's one of those things that slows the game down, and it's becoming an issue with the professional golfers. If you've ever played golf and if you're ever having a bad day and you're out there and the guy you're playing with is having a pretty good day, but you're not, but he's taking forever, it's like you just want to get off the course. You just want to get out of the way of the rest of the guys playing through and keep the speed of the game going. I've seen guys that are 5 or 6 over par. They're out of a tournament, as far as placing or winning the tournament, and we'll go through their same routine. And it's like, I have my own complaints about this. I still can't figure out why people are making 1-foot putts. It's like, if you get within a foot of the hole, pick the ball up and let's go. And they do it when they're in match plays. The putts are conceded, but in stroke play, for some reason, they'd rather have these guys, these 180, 200-pound guys, walk all around the last foot diameter of a hole, which to me does nothing but change the agronomy of that hole by the time the final 2 or 3 foursomes or threesomes or twosomes come to play it. These holes are all marked up. And if you've ever watched the golf tournament, especially with the cameras that they have, you can see these balls hit little, what I call what they call too as well, are little cleat marks that change a direction of a ball. I mean, that ball's not moving at such a great speed where it hits a tuft of grass and moves offline from the hole. And I've seen many a putt missed over the years on the last foot of the hole that because of spike marks. And I don't understand it. The ball's within a foot to 2 feet. Pick it up. Stay away from stepping around the hole. I just don't understand that. And the other part of it is how long they take to hit these shots out in the middle of the fairway. Once again, somebody out of contention that needs to take 2 minutes to hit an iron or a wedge. Absolutely absurd. And I think what they need to do to keep the game interesting is that, one of the complaints about baseball even is that a lot of people that I know who are not fans of baseball is because of the pitching and how long it takes in between pitches. I mean, the reason they shortened fences over the last few years originally was the fact that we'd have more home runs. And then the reason they livened the ball even more was because we'd have more hits and more runs, because people going to baseball games didn't like the idea of a 1-0 baseball game. Yet, one of the most exciting games I've ever seen in my whole life, of course, was the first time I witnessed a professional no-hitter at Anaheim Stadium. I can even tell you who it was, Clyde Wright, who was pitching for the Angels, threw a no-hitter, and it was absolutely the most exciting thing. Or going to see Nolan Ryan pitch or something like that, because there was always the potential that they might throw a no-hitter. Yet, if somebody does it or somebody's sitting there and there's no runs being scored and a no-hitter's not being pitched, they don't like the idea of a 1-0 or 2-1 ball game because there's not enough runs. And so they changed somewhat the game of baseball to kind of make it because it was more exciting. I mean, you want to go see your team, your favorite team, or team that you're playing against, or go to watch a particular player. I mean, if you're going to go see somebody who, Albert Pujols, you're going to want to go see somebody that's going to hit the ball at the ballpark, not go 0 for 4. Well, it's the same thing true to me in golf. If you go see a golf match and a golf tournament, I should say, and some guy's playing not that well, I mean, the last thing you want to do is sit there and watch this guy take 2 minutes to hit shots, and the game moves slow enough. I think what we're going to see in the next few years is we're going to see a time clock. It's going to be like a basketball team. And you know why obviously, if you're a sports fan, you know why they put a time clock or a time element into the game. Besides the running clock, they put a shot clock. And the idea was that there were teams that would bring the ball down the court and continually pass the ball for up to 2-3 minutes until they got a shot that they've considered to be a high percentage shot. Now you have what they used to call the 24-second clock. You have that amount of time to shoot the ball within, and if you don't, it's a shot clock violation. I'm totally for that in golf. As a professional golfer, which makes you one of the most exclusive players in the world, I believe that you shouldn't have to take more than a minute to hit a golf shot. By the time you get there, you have a yardage, you have a book, and you have a caddy. You can have an alignment. You know what's in front of you, and you know what you have to hit. It shouldn't take you more than a minute to pick the club, take the practice swings, and hit the ball. And if you've ever played speed golf, those decisions are made while you're walking towards the ball. And the idea is that you're trying to play to keep the pace of the game. And I think it makes it more exciting for the fans. I think having an official or using the referee in a group to make these decisions, then the impetus falls on him. If he makes the wrong ruling, you can't blame the player, you blame the referee. It's done all the time in other sports. So my angst with this is that, to get back to the original aspect of this, is my biggest thing with this is the game itself and keeping the integrity in the game. What these golfers do outside the game, the PGA has been noted for donating more money to charities than any other sport. I believe that entail golfers are, though they are not in a non-contact sport, it's kind of like race drivers, even the stock car drivers, or what we used to call stock car drivers, NASCAR drivers, is that athletes are becoming more and more athletic, even in sports that were once considered to be non-athletic. And it's something that if you look, I think I looked at the PGA earnings board this morning. I mean, we're not even really, we're just barely a quarter of the way into our season, and guys like Dustin Johnson and a couple other players up there have already earned over $3 million. And I look back at that as when I was on the high school golf team, that my friends were laughing about, why would you play golf? I missed it by about 2-3 decades maybe, but that's enough for me to play golf. I mean, Dustin Johnson could stop playing golf tomorrow, and after he finishes marrying Paulina Gretzky, they could take a honeymoon for the rest of the year on what he's earned in the first 4 months. Not bad. There are football players, basketball, baseball, you name it, that are not going to make $3.6 million this year. And golf has obviously become very lucrative, and they can thank Eldrick Tiger Woods for that. That has brought the people who I would consider that, we'd all used to be considered a little bit more like nerds. Now all of a sudden you look at us more like true golfers. But I'm gonna go ahead and take a break here for the last break of the day. And when we get back, I'm going to make the ruling on the day. And that will be what the ref says for this week. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Heads Up Radio Network. I'm Carmine Conti, the ref.
Looking for something different to do tonight? Thinking of a restaurant that you haven't been to for a while or a place to take the kids out for a fun night? Ever find yourself in this situation? This is a question that prompted publisher Jeanette Dunn to create Idaho Cuisine and Spokane Sizzle dining and entertainment guides. And it just keeps getting better with their pocket guides, online editions, and now online local restaurant finder at sizzleandcuisine.com. Also find local wineries, breweries, distilleries, great recipes from local chefs, hot spots and cool happenings, and chances to vote for your favorites. Be in the know about local happenings when you sign up for the Sizzlin' Cuisine e-News, delivered to your desktop weekly, and be eligible to win a free dinner for two. You've always enjoyed reading the magazines. Now it's easy to flip through them online too. Makes it easy to find restaurants that offer great menus prepared by experienced staffs who really care to serve you the best in local cuisine. Spokane Sizzle and Idaho Cuisine are online at sizzleincuisine.com. We do the footwork to make it easy for you to find just what you're looking for.
Sorry, Jen, I can't make it to our coffee date today. My kids are sick again, and I have a terrible headache, and medicine just doesn't seem to help.
Seems like you guys are always sick. Have you had your house tested for mold?
Come on, Jen, you know me. I keep my house spotless. There's no mold here.
That's what I thought about our house. We had the same problems last year and called mountain mold testing. They came right out and inspected our whole house for mold.
Really? What happened?
Well, mountain mold testing took air samples and the lab test showed that we were breathing dangerous, invisible mold. We got the mold cleaned up and now we don't have any more wheezing, headaches, or congestion. They gave us our health back.
Mold can cause numerous health problems, including allergies, chronic headaches, asthma, and lung infections. Children, pregnant women, and the elderly are especially susceptible. Call Mountain Mold Testing at 208-660-8877. That's 208-660-8877. Online at mountainmoldtesting.com.
Support of Heads Up Radio's audio stream comes from people like you. Join the thousands that make independent radio stations like Heads Up Radio available to the public and your community. Please donate today. You're listening to the Heads Up Radio Network. The Ref, Carmine Conti.
And welcome back to the ref here on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Well, I've been rambling on here about integrity and rules and golf and athletes and listen. I'm going to make the call on this today, but before I do that, I kind of want to remind everybody who these guys are. They are entertainers. As serious as they may want us to believe they are about a sport, is that a lot of these guys have a lot of growing to do, mature-wise, mentally. And when you are in a situation, and it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or if you're, I'm going to leave it as entertainer, Bieber and some of these other entertainers, Miley Cyrus and some of these other young entertainers are going through this constantly, being surrounded by people who constantly tell them how great they are. It's hard for them to be able to find fault in what they do because they know not what that is. And it's the same thing that Tiger Woods went through with his marriage. And even now, we're going through it with Olympian, the Blade Runner there, and realizing now that Oscar Pistorius, just if you're looking for a name, is that he doesn't really even understand, I don't really believe until now, of what he did. And the same thing with Tiger is that I think after his wife chased him down the driveway with a sandwich, I think he then became aware of it probably wasn't good to have, a dozen women on the side as opposed to a dozen Nike balls. It's it's something that we have and they have to, as entertainers, learn. And no matter whether you're a football player or Richard Sherman or whether you're somebody, these are all maturing times for it. We like it, we don't like it. It's something that, as long as the integrity is kept in the sport. But I do believe that for integrity to be there, it has to be something that they were raised with. So I'm going to rule today, more or less, on the integrity part of whether it's golf or whether it's entertainment, is that you're being paid to entertain us, not to enlighten us with your moral aptitude or maybe moral unaptitude in regards of what you do, is that we're here to watch you perform at the best that you can perform. And if you feel you need to cheat to reach that pinnacle, then don't be surprised when you are caught either by an official or you are caught by somebody at home watching it on TV, or you are caught by your own peers in the sport. Then you are going to be served notice in regards to the fact that maybe you might do a gut check, take a look at yourself. I mean, the one question I think I would have asked Woods more so is that you didn't know you were cheating, really? Or in Oscar's thing like that, I fired 4 shots into the bathroom. My girlfriend wasn't in bed. Really? You didn't? I mean, you shot a gun and you didn't know where your girlfriend was? I mean, these things to me are like, this is what shows that these athletes are sometimes not mature enough to understand the environment that they live in because they were so sheltered. In Woods' part, his father sheltered him so much as that I think it took longer for Tiger to grow up, not so much in the game, because the game is based on your athletic prowess and what your gift is, but in his world, his life world, where he lives outside the game. And I don't believe any amount of money or anything that he does is ever going to provide him more freedom to be able to do that. But still, he's going to be judged on, even to this day, as he's still going to be judged on his actions outside the game of golf. And this for somebody who has done so much for the game of golf and even for people that want to play golf as well. So, the ruling today is more or less, if you are an entertainer or you're in the entertainment business, as I pointed out, whether it be Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, whoever it might be in the world of sports, remember, integrity to your craft is one thing, but remember your integrity to yourself is even more important. You've been listening to the Ref here today. My name is Carmine Conti. You're listening to us on Heads Up Radio Network. Just briefly, I'm going to go back over. Remember, you can get a hold of us, write notes to the show, Carmine@headsupradio.com, and www.headsupradio.com will take you to our website to listen in. So until next week, join us here at the Heads Up Radio Network, and thank you for being part of our family. And hey, man, advertise with us. We need the money. Take care, everybody.